Testing, testing. Testing, testing, testing. 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 Testing.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Comes across.
Testing, testing.
It's you actually enter it, the text up there. Hi. You enter it through Packing House. What it is, the county bought the north side of 46 in the old quarry area. Yeah. They also
Call to order this February 21st meeting of the Monroe County Redevelopment Commission. Jeff, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Martin.
Present.
Commissioner Cassidy.
Present.
Commissioner Kiesling.
Here.
I do not see anybody online, so we have a quorum with 3 members,
All present in person, right?
all present in person.
Do we have to worry about in person these days or not? Has that changed at all?
That's not changed, although when we're all in person, the big difference is we could do voice votes instead of always having to do roll calls, but I'm more than happy to roll call anything you want.
Good. Okay. Well, let's go.
All right, first up on our agenda are the contracts for Financial Solutions Group for annual reports. There are 4 contracts here. One is the annual continuing disclosures contract. And then there is a contract for State Road 46, for West Side, and for Fullerton Pike. The total amount for these 4 contracts is between $16,500 and $17,000, depending upon how much continuing disclosures we need to have. Jeff, do you have any comments?
These are extremely similar to last year's. I think that the big one that I always look at is making sure we have our reports in by our next meeting, and our next meeting is March 20th. So it's cutting it close, but he does a really good job explaining it, so I think it'll work.
So we're okay.
Get done.
Yes.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Quick question on this. Each one of the amounts will come out of the each TIF themselves, and there's adequate funds in each TIF to cover this.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. With that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the contracts for Financial Solutions Group for annual reports. Jeff, please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin.
Yes.
Commissioner Cassidy.
Yes.
Commissioner Kiesling.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
All right, next on our agenda is a presentation for potential residential TIF for ARPA Affordable Housing Project. We have a handout. Is the handout available online as well?
Should be. I emailed it to the Teams meeting crew, and I emailed it this morning as well for the commissioners meeting. So if, I guess, Teams meeting crew, do you have it?
Yes, we do. I will pull it up shortly.
What happened to you?
Hello.
That is true.
All right. Jeff, you want to tell us about this?
Yes, and as they're doing it, maybe I'll give a little background. When we were looking at ARPA funds and their use, one of the ideas that was explored, and the county commissioners and county councils
Jeff, explain what ARPA funds are for, 'cause people might not know that.
ARPA is the American Rescue Plan Act funds, and those are funds that the county received a considerable amount, in the neighborhood of 28 million.
Wow.
That is to be utilized for pandemic and pandemic-related expenses, including with those are things that impacted communities, impacted demographics, and those kind of things.
Countywide.
It's countywide. City received a share, Ellisville received a share, every county in Indiana received a share,
Okay.
but they were all different amounts, so
Okay.
so as
Well, I just want to make clear, if anybody's listening, we might not know what we're talking about.
acronyms are useful, but sometimes overused.
That's right.
So I understand.
Okay.
So discussions with the county council and the county commissioners, they allocated up to $3.5 million. They said, go find us a project. We want to do an affordable housing project. And so we had we being staff had narrowed down to about 5 or 6 different projects. And we had an executive session with the council and the commissioners to say, hey, which one of these do we want to do? At that point in time, we had anticipated having to purchase property in order to make this happen. And so as I go through this, I'll explain how we're off a little bit from that original assumption. So the page that's on the screen is a aerial of the area we're looking at. It's the hashed marked area just off Old State Road 37. It contains approximately 11 acres. If you look at this to the west is the addition that Tom Weininger's groups, I always call it SEMO, but I'm SOMO, and then it's close to the Clear Creek Elementary School. And so just north on this map would be the Kroger off South Walnut Street. And so this is the project that the council and the commissioners wanted us to pursue. I think the biggest reason they really like this project is because there's an existing home on the site that we are trying to work with local operators to convert into a daycare facility. So that's something that was different from this one than what we were looking at with some of the other sites. If you want to go to the next slide.
Acknowledge that, Mr. Powell.
Oh, and Commissioner McCarty has arrived. Let me see if I've got this is kind of a rough schematic of what we're looking at. We're looking at, for this 11-acre parcel, having 32 units that would be utilized by Habitat for Humanity, 38 units which would be not high income, but above the habitat model, and those would be retained by the owner of the property. And then what we're planning on utilizing the ARPA funding for is the infrastructure and the house and the remodel of that home. There are also 2 storage units on the site that will be utilized for Habitat for storing their materials, and I think they do some minor work in those as well, but that's all kind of part of the project. So in order to avoid some of the more burdensome requirements dealing with if the county purchases property and those capital items, we worked with the current land owner, and so that they will just donate those lots to Habitat without going through the county. And the ARPA funding will purely be paid for things that would be bid on the project, the infrastructure.
Who owns the land?
Right now, it's Kenny Blackwell's.
And who will own it after people
Well,
build?
the lots that will be Habitat will be owned by Habitat
Oh,
until they go through their process, build the home, and then a homeowner will be there. The remaining ones will be owned by Mr. Blackwell with the intent, and this could change because of market conditions or whatever. The intent would be that he would sell those to homeowners to utilize that, and these are all either paired housing or quads. The childcare, the existing home childcare, we're trying to work with and find an operator, and once we do that, we can kind of structure who will be the ultimate owners of that. And then the 2 storage areas, I think Habitat will own that area as well. That's the plan at this point. This is in a planning district that allows this number of units. However, setbacks and other requirements, this does not meet all those, and so we'll have to go through the planning process in order to get this to comply. It'll probably have to be a PUD. So that process still has to occur. There is city sewer on this site. However, we have not, we still need to work with the city to see if this project is acceptable for that. If not, we are at least looking at potentially doing a package plant kind of concept to service this area. Ideally, we would hook onto that because that package plant would then be, the cost of that would then be able to be utilized for the further changes to the childcare center or other amenities in the area. So that's kind of the project, and that's what we're looking at. One of the, well, a couple of the reasons other than the childcare that this made kind of the, hey, let's look at it, is that there's a lot of housing already in the area. There's a lot of housing going in the area. It's close to a school. Some of the problems or concerns that potentially could be addressed or should be, we would like, I think, working with the Habitat group came out of the conversations is the connection between this area to Kroger South is all road, and that people who drive that part of this roadway often see people walking along the shoulders of the road. And so one potential thing that I think improvement that could be made would be some kind of walkway structure that would connect this area to that Kroger, and that would also then connect it to the middle school there and the new library. There's a lot of trail infrastructure once you get there already, or trail might not be the right word, multi-use paths. So that's one of the things I think that really seems to be something that could be added to this area that would be helpful. I'm sure there are others, but I guess the thought is we know we're going to put something of value here. It's going to be fairly dense. And so if the Redevelopment Commission, and I'm bringing it up, is that if we were going to look at this as an area to TIF, probably need to have you guys spend some time looking at a broader map and say, hey, where would we like to do it, with the caveat that whatever improvements or however we utilize that money has to be physically connected to or physically serve that district. I think residential TIFs gives you a lot more leeway in how you look at, things such as down payment assistance, repair assistance. I think you've got a little bit more broader range of things that you can look at when you're doing a residential TIF. So that plays a role. And when we first started talking about a residential TIF, my mind immediately went to where are we going to see new construction in an area where there's older homes, so that you include that whole area, because those older home areas are going to need more infrastructural improvements and things along those lines. So this area kind of fits that bill a little bit. So I wanted to make you guys aware of this and then see what your thoughts are.
Total number of units we're talking here.
For this, it would be 70.
Okay, 70 units, and then we're already in next to an existing neighborhood in the Clear Creek area.
Yes.
And then the daycare that we're looking at is to utilize that existing home and then have a private operator that would run that for the
Correct.
community under Habitat, or as an individual citizen?
I think Habitat's mission is not childcare, so I'm actually working with the Community Foundation has a branch that deals with and is really looking at childcare. So we're working with their people to kind of identify operators in the area and try to. That market right now is tough because of the need for employees, and there's just not the staffing is going to be the issue.
This is where on here? It's there. Oh, this part here.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I was in the wrong place then.
And putting it in this particular area you're talking about, I mean, if we can do what we'd have to do side path wise, connectivity in order to be able to go to Kroger, because this area, since we do have a grocery store within walking distance per se, we eliminate the circumstance that we get in other areas of the county where we don't have walkability and we create food deserts.
Yes, we do not want to create a food desert. So I think that is, I mean, that's the one I guess, reoccurring, and I actually reached out to Lisa, and the sidewalk is, she estimated to be 3 million-ish?
Okay, I
Ish?
I gave him this number because we did the Rogers Street study. And there we ran into right-of-way issues, utility issues.
Right.
And I don't want to think small that this area isn't similar to that. And they came back in that study with 4 options, and the preferred option was 2.8 million to construct sidewalk from Country Club, just south of Country Club, to the new roundabout. So, and inflation has increased
inflation's
everything.
pretty-
And, you know, you think about the Karst Trail that just got awarded. That's going down, you know, and we're basically redoing sidewalk there. So we're using the same path. We didn't have a lot of right-of-way, only 6 parcels there. And that, you know, that was 2.9 million, so.
So is that something that we would look at from a incremental standpoint if we looked at this from a residential TIF standpoint, that as the funds came in, would utilize, the ARPA funds would be utilized for the baseline infrastructure to get these in? Then Habitat would build theirs, the market rate developer would develop on his in order, and the revenues that are generated from those residences then could be utilized into a bond issue to help do.
We've got a lot of work before we get there.
Okay.
We'd have to know a rough idea of what the estimated revenue would be. In my mind, that's an awful large project for a residential TIF. I mean, I guess in my mind, I would envision it almost working more like what we did with the Fullerton Pike TIF, where, you know, yeah, we've got something there, but we'd have to look at other funding options and other grant options to make it.
Actually,
Yeah.
okay. And by incorporating, if we look at incorporating this into a TIF district, we'd incorporate the other existing residential areas that are there.
I think that's a question for you guys, right?
Okay.
I think you guys should look at the map, look at the area, and then kind of try to get some ideas and some sense on. I throw out the residential maintenance assistance and those kind of things as options you could do, so you can consider that while you're looking at, you know, I think there are other areas where increment will go up, particularly because there's a lot of other construction projects in the area. And then there's the area between this project and what Mr. Weininger is building. There's another subdivision or another group of homes that would probably go in. And so all that would increase the increment that could be used.
That could then, based on the residential TIF parameters, could actually be used to help take the existing housing stock that's there and be able to help increase those. Because I know in some of these areas, some of the residents that are there, they're still on septic and such, so we could utilize that to help ensure the health of the
Yes.
area. Okay.
I think one thing that comes to my mind in knee-jerk reaction type questions is, of course, cost per square foot to build. I don't think that's really gone down much, but also as we look ahead on this project, theoretically, is the increment going to be commensurate with the affordability of these homes? So in listening to already, you know, what a sidewalk would cost, what it would cost for other infrastructure in that kind of area, you know, we'd have to core drill it, of course, to determine the amount of rock in that area. There's a lot that goes into it, but that jumped into my mind is, okay, how affordable is it going to be, and how much is that increment going to make a difference in terms of reinvesting back into the TIF?
Well, I guess in my mind, the affordability is helped by the upfront American Rescue Plan Act funding, right?
Yep.
So,
Mhm.
so as the thought is that Habitat would get 32 units where the infrastructure's there and they have the land and they haven't spent a dollar, right? So those
Right.
are affordable. The quadplexes, according to the developer, will be 300,000-ish per unit. That's a rough number. I'm not going to hold him to, but that in that range, so it'd be a little bit more than what you would get the Habitat homes appraised at, but not astronomical.
Mhm.
Like we've,
Yeah.
and it's a sign of the times where a $300,000 home is not astronomical to me, but that's where we're at. And so increment on those
Yeah.
will be something.
Okay.
And so it's a matter of, if when you guys get to a point where you think, well, this seems like the right area, then we could do some calculations based upon it estimated, construction and what the assessed value would be estimated to be. So we could get you some rough numbers on that, on what the increment would be. And then we could kind of make some thoughts on, well, if this is the increment, what should we be focusing on?
When we're looking at this, we get a couple things. What's the increment dollars that'll be coming in? The basis of the affordable housing. We know at this present moment, if we're utilizing Habitat, we're going to have an entry-level housing project that is going to be able to be lower based upon the fact that the ARPA dollars are putting in. So that'll help buy down that particular one. If we're looking at it in this quadplex, are the quadplexes or the duplexes the ones that'll be privately dealt?
The quadplexes.
Quads are the okay.
If you look closely enough, there's circles and squares. So the circles would be Habitat and the squares would be
Okay.
the privately held.
Developer. Okay.
Okay, that makes sense.
Gotcha.
With the quadplexes, they're going to be at market rate, and those will probably go up quicker because Habitat, given their model, it takes a little while for them to build their homes as it goes. So from an increment standpoint, if those private ones go up quicker, we're going to see additional revenue that'll occur. From an affordability standpoint, we know Habitat will be lower, and if the infrastructure is in even on the other one, that's going to help do that down. The one particular thing I kind of like about this is it's utilizing an adaptive area that already has utilities, and we're taking 3 existing structures, and seems like we're adaptively reusing those. So from a sustainability standpoint, that in itself, and the child care seems to be good. Now, knowing the area fairly well here, next to a school, so we got walkability. So we end up in a beneficial situation from an educational standpoint of being able to walk to school. We have walkability to food without any questions in there. We do need to identify how we're going to get there safely. Adaptive reuse, lower cost, and then being able to incorporate into an existing neighborhood that has areas of septics that could be done over a period of time, minimal sidewalks, and a area where you've got lower income, but people that are there long-term in their homes, that you could actually, like what the county has put forth in the rehabilitation home in their areas.
More fixed income
More fixed
as well
income,
as older. Yeah.
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 Not older, more mature.
Sure. I'm with you. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
So consequently, area looks good. The only question that I have in regards to it is connectivity to any additional roads, and then anything we're dealing with on public transportation.
Yes.
Well, we need to, in the plan is to talk with Bloomington Transit. If you look at the design, we went ahead and designed it so that there are 2 options for bus stops for this area. So I think we anticipate having it served by Bloomington Transit. We need to have those conversations, of course, but we certainly want them in close to now so that we can get good feedback and good input. I've talked with them on a couple other projects, and they would like to be brought in at this stage to kind of to have those conversations.
How, since when I I'd ask the question, our timeframes that we have to deal with in order to make sure that we can get the ARPA money allocated time-wise, and you had mentioned that this will have to go back through a planning procedure.
Correct.
Do we have an idea time-wise, because, given our meetings, once a month and such, do we need to identify the timeline that this will take in order to?
We're working on, we're hoping to work with the planning staff to have something with planning by their March 6th deadline or March 7th deadline. And then that would be kind of the big rezone PUD item. And then prior to that getting completed, hopefully have the site plan go start the process so that when one gets done, the other one will be ready. So we would be through planning hopefully by July, August. And I think if we get through planning by July, August, we would go out to bid September, October, have the bids back October, November, and have a contract by the end of December.
We could meet our criteria for the funding without putting things in jeopardy as long as we get on it in the fairly
Correct.
soon timeframe.
This schematic design was not built in a day, so we've got some time into it already. We've identified some of the issues. We have a few more to work through. There's no doubt about that.
I got a bunch of questions. Number one, it appears to me from looking at this map, there would be no connectivity to Clear Creek because the roadway doesn't go through there. I see it as a stub on the schematic as a dashed stub, so there's nothing there at this point. So there is no connectivity to the west as
Doesn't
far
look
as
like
I can
it.
tell.
Well, that's what I wondered, Richard, when we were looking at this stub out of the cul-de-sacs. Does that indicate it's going to move forward, or?
Well, I mean, I don't see where it connects to the west anywhere,
Sure.
to a roadway. Now, there may be,
Connected to that College Drive that's,
is down at this piece right here.
right,
Does that connect to the west?
Not at this point.
Not at this point. Okay, so this would have to be developed as a connection to west.
Is this a situation, Jeff?
And we don't have ownership of there would be no owner. Who owns the property that connection would be on? Do we know?
I don't know. It's a single-family home that's got a homeowner. I believe the one to the west, that dotted circle, I believe that connects with a current plan to build out that area.
Okay.
Now, I got my north area. I had my north area wrong. Okay, now I see. Yeah. Richard, what I do know on that, College Drive comes down through what will be the next connectivity that'll go here, and then that would connect into
Yes.
that
Well,
existing.
schematically, I see it, but there's nothing there at the present time. So is that part of our project?
No, the development of that lot is not part of our project.
So this would be somebody else. So we don't know whether that's going to happen soon or 50 years from now. Okay.
Fairly,
No,
yeah, true.
We don't know.
it's either here or it's not here.
It's
Binary issue. How is this zoned now?
It is zoned RE 3.5 with a Pro 6 overlay. Means that we can get up to 6 lots per acre.
Glad he
So
knows.
that's why you need to go with PUD, because you could only get 66 structures.
I think the number of, I think it's a little over 11, so I think if you did the math, you would get.
You get to 7?
You get to 70.
Okay, all right. There was somewhere in this area, another petition that included a lot of these paired homes and quints and quads that seemed not to get accepted. And they had to end up going back to single-family homes. Is that in an area similar to this?
That area is, and I think it's the SOMO? I
No,
think,
that would, yeah, Somo, which is just to the, here's the area we're talking here. Make sure I got this right. Okay, yeah, here's the area we're at. This is Somo, which is at the intersection of that road
Right.
and Rogers. This area, this is College Drive here. This area here, Somo went through and I think they're a 92 lot subdivision with single-family homes that are selling somewhere between the 400s and 500,000s. He had petitioned for that to end up being a paired patio type situation at the
Right.
time.
Right.
And that was turned down, and he's went back and did the by right,
Right.
92 units.
So the question is,
Mhm.
what gives us the confidence that we could do another paired patio project in the same area and not get the same result? That they don't want it.
I think that this is already zoned for this many units, right? This is not adding units that couldn't currently be put there with the current
My
zoning.
impression was the other one was current zone too.
The other one had to go through and be, it was doubling the unit count total.
Okay.
That's why. They had taken it through, it was approved for 92 single-family homes,
Mhm.
and it was brought back through as a PUD, and it was going to go up to approximately 180.
Oh, okay.
That was
All
the
right.
difference.
So and that was part of the consideration when we were looking at is what would the current zoning allow?
Now, that project, did that project get connection to the sanitary sewer?
Yes.
Okay, so you haven't talked with CBU yet about this one?
I have not.
Do we know where the sewer is that they would have to connect to?
The sewer line, if we looked here, this sewer, this is a representation of the sewer line, what I'm circling. And I think it goes down this line. This is what is on the schematic as the sewer line. I'm sorry for the people watching on Zoom, but it's essentially the dotted line that is to the west of the project and runs along the north boundary line. It appears from looking at the site that actually probably where angles out is actually probably further east, and it's mismapped, so it's actually.
But there is sanitary sewer along
Yes.
the along the roadway, right? 37, the old 37 roadway, on that side of the road.
Correct, and it actually cuts back along the north property line.
Well, because there are homes that would require sewer north of
Yes.
north of this project. Okay, all right. All right, so let me go back. So that essentially the land is being donated to Habitat for their parts of the project.
Correct.
Blackwell retains ownership of the other,
Correct.
correct? We would put in, or the county would put in infrastructure up to 3.5 million or whatever that is.
We actually think that it will be much less than that, which will allow us to work on the child care facility.
Right, right. Okay. All right. This could go through, seems to me, without any involvement of the redevelopment commission at all. Okay. So what is the role of the redevelopment commission in this project?
I guess the role of the redevelopment commission in this project is to look at this area to see if there are needs in this area that the increment from a residential TIF could help increase the available habitable, affordable housing and make the housing more attractive. And that would include kind of your standard infrastructure ideas. It could also include kind of some of these other things we're talking about with homeowner down payment assistance and residential maintenance assistance, those kind of concepts.
Those are far enough out, so. But if we have a large enough area, we could then look at extending sewer service to any of the residences in that area that did not have sanitary sewer.
Correct.
Okay.
Provided that.
USB is willing to go along with it.
Yes.
Okay, so, but that's, part of their concern is their cost of doing things, and if we pay for it, they may be more amenable to getting it done. Okay. All right, so the next thing from our perspective is I'm assuming that the county's going to work pushing this through no matter what. From our perspective, we need to look at a broader area to see if creating a residential TIF of significant size is a viable thing to do here. That sounds like that's what we need to do. Okay. So we then would have to work with the planning staff to look at what kind of an area might be suitable. That seems like the next step. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Can you then arrange a meeting with the planning staff for us to discuss that particular possibility?
I certainly can. Do you want it to be at a regular scheduled meeting, or do you want to pick a time?
Well, given the timeline of this, the sooner the better, I think is where we're at on this. We would like to, I think from everybody's perspective, we would like to know if the Redevelopment Commission is going to get involved in this at all. That's the first decision to make, and we need that information to make that decision. So I think we ought to look at that first. Anybody disagree with that?
No, I think you're 100% correct in regards to that. What we need to do from a expedient time frame to make that determination is this is going in a parallel path, and if we so choose that a residential TIF is beneficial for this area as a whole in the county, that we move that forward as quickly as possible to identify it.
Yeah.
Now, so the other things we want to know for sure are, in a residential TIF, what new assessed value is eligible for capture? Is it only homes? Do quadplex homes include that? Are they included or are they excluded? Because there are rental properties that go to a different kind of situation, I think. So we need to know specifically what kinds of residential and commercial and industrial properties increased value we could actually capture in a residential TIF. Because that'll help us figure out how big we may want to be and where we may want to put it.
So the statute that identifies residential TIFs, we need to, I want to get clarification, Richard, to identify if there's a commercial area within that TIF, if we're able to capture that increment.
That would be part of it, yes.
Okay.
That would be
Well, and I could, someone answer that question right now. Reading the statute, it doesn't indicate that you could not capture that value. Talking to the people who do bonding authority, they say you can't. So there's.
The question is, where in Indiana are they doing residential TIFs? And if they are they capturing commercial value?
I believe there's one in Valparaiso, because I think that ROI did a webinar on that several years ago. So I think it's Valpo, but it's up north.
That's one place to look anyway.
Yeah.
You may have to educate.
And for the purpose of a bond, they may not be. There may be different rules.
That's right.
We may be able to put it into a fund and spend it, but we can't use it to pay off a bond. So there are different rules for different things. So we'd like to get some clarity on that. Okay, those are the things I think are important in this issue. Anybody else got anything else here? Okay,
I think you've done it.
all right.
Yeah, it's a great start.
Next is the Richland fire truck. Says an issue. I didn't think it was an issue. Come up and tell us what you need us to do.
And maybe I'll start this off. We've been talking about this for a while. And I think the last time we talked about it, we really wanted to get the bid in for the Vernal Pike Connector Road.
Right.
And so those bids came in last week, and Lisa can inform you on that. Do you want to just do that now? I think she was going to do it during the update, but.
So our fire truck depends on our road.
No, don't put it like that. I have been crunching numbers.
The road depends on the fire truck?
First.
No. Yeah, you gotta have the road for the fire truck, right? No, I know this has been a priority. And I know in March, I have to have my numbers together for these FSG annual reports also. So that one is just a little bit work in progress. Kevin got us the numbers for the fire truck. We got the numbers for Curry Pike construction. But again, what Jeff was saying is what we were waiting for was, so I'll just do my staff stuff here. I don't know if I brought enough copies.
We'll share.
Charlie, I'll send you one of these also.
Have one.
So actually, I just kind of put this together. As you see at the top, the Vernal Pike award was $12,760,963.10. However, we estimated that it could have came in at $14,650,000. We have construction inspection contract, which is $1,015,700. Awarded funds to this project to date, which is 77% of the cost of the project for construction, is $8,959,680. Construction inspection awarded funds is $812. So that leaves our local funds on this project a little over $4 million. I'll just talk about that one since that's all we really need to talk about for the fire truck. So in looking at the numbers and the projects and what funds we have available to pay for the Vernal Pike Connector project, we have $1.3 million left in the 2020 RDC Profile Parkway bond. I will have my Kreider and Kreider bill, final bill, next week. I reached out to them today. They were just finishing quantities with our consultant. There will be no more invoices out of that, except for this last Kreider bill, which I'm expecting less than $50,000. I can't imagine it being real high. We did check with the bond council. We're allowed to use those funds towards this project because it is connecting to Profile Parkway. So we'll use what's left in that bond, which takes it down to around $4 million. Part of that is construction inspection fees. Our construction inspection fees will be paid out over a 2-year period. We pay those 100% upfront out of our grant fund. We are reimbursed that at 80% of that. That'll stretch out for 2 years, at least 2 years, to build the project. So with that said, I'm expecting a bill any day from NDOT for that project that I'm going to guess is going to be around $2.8 million or so, $3 million. We've checked the cash. We do have the cash. We have it appropriated. And looking forward, with our other projects and everything, we also looked into what we can bond out of this TIF, and it's $4.3 million worth of projects if we need to for the projects that are outlying out there for, if you want to say, fire trucks, Curry Pike. So we still have that option too. So I personally, looking at the numbers, our 5-year plan that I'll present to you guys when it's ready for FSG and everything, yes, the fire truck is doable, I think, is what we've kind of gone over.
And I think just to clarify, at the end of the year, we had about 3.4 or $3.5 million in our West Side TIF fund. That does not include the 1.3 that she mentioned in that.
Doesn't include the estimated revenue for 2024, that
Right.
we estimate 1.
It's 2 point,
Two.
we received about a little over $2 million this calendar year. So
Correct.
I think that is a reasonable estimate, hopefully a little low, but a reasonable estimate on what we would expect next year. Again, this will all come out in the annual reports, but that's what we got this year. So if we have to give $4 million in local funds, I think we have almost 5 cash on hand today. And then we expect to get another 2.2. And again, that's, so I think we do not need to do any kind of lending or anything like that for the connector project. The bid actually came in a little lower than we expected, so we won't have as close of a.
We've got outstanding bonds on this already, right?
Correct.
Or
So we got 100 and side, the west side. So on west side, got 2 bonds out on the west side. Yes, we got 2 bonds out on the west side, I think. So we're paying
you have Carly?
6.
Actually, you just sent me.
120, so we're paying roughly $250,000 in bond payments.
$250,000, I do not believe is the correct number. I think that's low. I think we'd pay, the payment is not static between the payment we usually make in January, February, and the one we make in July, August. They're not the same amount.
Ah, that's right, because one pays the principal, one just pays the interest.
Right. So it's, I believe it's closer to 600,000 for the full year. I don't have the annual report in front of me, but it's 250 is not the right number.
No, I remember that.
Yeah.
One just pays interest, one pays both.
I think we were at over, or right around, I thought we were over 2.5 to 1 ratio. And so if we're collecting 2 million, the 600,000 to 700,000 per year seems
About right,
about
okay.
right.
When we look at this and we're looking at our incremental cash flow, which I appreciate, Lisa, you projecting that on a 5-year basis. How does that fall into with the fire truck purchase based upon previous discussions with Chief Patton in regards to how long it takes to do that and the cash flow that will be necessary from the RDC to?
Well, there's, as far as ordering the truck, there's a couple options. We've got one spec'd out. If we order today, they're telling us it takes 48 months to get that exact truck built. Occasionally, somebody orders a truck and it gets down to the road and their funds aren't available, so they will have a truck that's not been spoken for. And so sometimes we can jump in on it as long as it's not been painted red. That just won't work. Yeah, they'd find a new chief because they'd run me out. So as far as the timeline, we're looking at 48 months max. As far as the truck, what we can do most of the time is you can either start making payments as soon as you sign the contract. Most of the time, the town has always gone 6 months out or up to a year out from signing the contract. And that gives the town a cash discount because before the manufacturer starts ordering the parts to build this, they've already got the cash, or at least part of it. Also, by the time the truck comes in, it's for the most part paid off then, so that's kind of nice. So there's 2 or 3 different options that can be done, if that answers your question.
The main objective is trying to match our overall revenues from our TIFs to the cash flow and putting that level of priority so that we don't have anything from a fiscal standpoint that will impact what we've already committed to.
We had Mr. Patton put together, what it would be like as a 5-year
Yes.
payment, and it was, I want to say.
Anywhere from 260 to 270, 270,000, sorry, twice a year.
So, and I forwarded that to our financial advisor to have them take a look at. I have not gotten their feedback yet from that. But certainly, I think that interest rate's between 5 and 6. And I'm
5.9.
yeah, closer to 6 then. So, you know, I want to get kind of some of their feedback on whether that.
Oh, yeah, so we're $500,000 a year for 4 years?
Total of 5 years.
5 years,
Uh-huh.
okay.
When we talked last fall, it was, you could put your name in now and then no payment, or you could always pull out of the agreement in the next
Correct.
roughly 12 months.
Right, the way the manufacturer, and it's using, we're actually going through Sourcewell for the bidding process, so that's already been done. Sorry, my train totally got off track there. What was your question again? I'm sorry.
Well, I was just saying, when we talked about it last fall, I think the RDC was hesitant to tell you to go forward. But I just wanted to remind them that, you know, really we're interested today, you would put the name in, and at least as of last fall, you had roughly a calendar year that if something went crazy,
The
you
way
could
the
pull out at no cost.
Yes.
And so,
The way the manufacturer's doing it now is I can go back, fill out the contract, place the order. There's no money down. That just puts me in the queue. When they get to within, he said roughly 24 to 36 months, when the engineers start doing their part, then there'll be a small fee. He said it's roughly 50 to 100,000 to start all of that. And then the farther you go into the project, when they actually start buying materials, so on and so forth, then you would start accruing costs then, obviously. And then what they've done, they're trying to anticipate the future, which is very difficult, obviously. So they do not, this price is locked in, and they will ensure a 5% increase, meaning that when we get within 14 months of delivery, they will look at it, and if the cost has gone up 5% or less, the manufacturer eats that. If it's gone up 6%, then they basically call us and say, hey, it's gone up 6%, so you will owe an extra 1%. If we want it, we pay the extra 1%, take the truck. If we don't, it goes to the next person in line.
So from a timing line on our cash flow from our TIF funds, we're looking at a situation where we have the ability in the next year to garner those funds, have them set in reserve, and if something catastrophic went, we would be able to say, well, we'd have the funds reserved, but we didn't use them, and we could pull out and not hurt anything from a contractual standpoint or a community reputation.
That's correct, because with the cost of the equipment, the town's already buying some other vehicles, and we're looking at building a new station for the west side of town, which is growing, and replacing the one that's 50 years old in the TIF area currently. The funds for the town of Ellisville and Richland Township are maxed out, so we're not going to get it if the TIF isn't able to help with it anyway, so no harm, no foul.
And the truck will be housed on the TIF side of,
Yes.
okay.
Yes, this one's got a little shorter height, a little shorter wheelbase, so it allows us to get into a lot of these tighter areas. It's just a different design. And so it will fit in I'm hoping to be well out of the Curry Pike station by then, but it will fit in that station. If not, it will fit in the new station. That exact location is to be determined. The township is paying for a feasibility study now to find out the best location for that. We're obviously looking at somewhere, we're going to say Hart Strait, Vernal Pike area, east Vernal Pike out to the interstate, somewhere in that corridor, outside where the city's got their eyes on, but still in the area that it needs to serve.
We will know the definitive answer next month, but I think we are confident that at this point that this is something we can do. What do you need from us to feel comfortable proceeding?
Do you recall what, if anything, was written up last time was done?
I think the simplest answer is that if you guys are comfortable moving forward, I'll get with Darla Brown, Ellettsville's attorney, and we will work out an agreement and then have it presented to you, hopefully at your March meeting, if not April.
All right. That sounds fine. I mean, I think I'm comfortable with giving the go-ahead to let's see what we can work out, and we'll know a little more by the time we're ready to sign it anyway.
Okay. Thank you very much for all your work. I know this is.
Anybody disagree with that?
No,
No? Okay, we're
that's a
good.
good way to move forward.
I think with Lisa's hard work in regards to getting the price down on
Right.
our Vernal Pike, or our connector of our bridge, utilization of those funds into a public safety venue is the right thing to do.
Couple
In the
questions.
price of the Fullerton Pike project, though.
Yeah, it's going to
We'll
kill
take
us.
this one at a time.
Okay, yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So we got a construction award of 12 million. We had an engineering estimate of 14 million. We have an inspection contract of 1 million. Tell me what this construction awarded federal funds.
That's NDOT's funds.
That's
That's
the
towards
funds
the
they're gonna give
construction.
us.
Mhm.
Okay, so you said that then, and the CI awarded federal funds, what are those?
NDOT funds.
NDOT, okay.
Mhm.
And then local funds. So the 8 million plus the 800,000 plus the 4 million is supposed to equal the engineering estimate?
No, the 12 and the 1. It should,
12 and
the
the
construction
1, okay.
award and the construction
All right,
inspection
so how are we going
contract.
to build this for less than the engineering estimate?
I only put the engineer estimate in there just so you could see that what the bid came in compared to that.
Okay.
The engineer estimate plays nothing now.
Okay, all right, so we are expecting that we are now fixed on these amounts.
We are fixed on these amounts, but there could be change orders. Always anticipate a change order in a project. So
Yeah.
that's the numbers that I have today.
All right,
Do you have any inkling as to, you said that this is really a 77%?
Correct.
Do you-
If
do you have an inkling whether they'll go up to the 80%?
they will not.
Okay.
so to the extent that there are change orders,
Mhm.
we're going to be over the 4 million.
And you can have a change order go under too. It's,
And this is excluding the cost that we've got sunk already in the land. et cetera,
correct,
et cetera.
correct.
So this whole thing is costing us $20 million. Ridiculous amount of money to cross a railroad track.
It is, yeah.
Not if you ask the railroad.
I could go out with a pick and shovel and
We love the
for
railroad.
that much money.
Love the railroad.
This is, this is,
Yeah,
We
and I
absolutely need to
didn't
do
want
this.
to
There's no
confuse
question
you
about
with the
it.
engineer estimate. I just wanted to see,
Nope,
let
that's-
you see
that's
where the
okay.
bids came in, but at this point, that has nothing to do with moving forward.
right, but it does give me pause to say, so there could be engineering changes on this that would push this, so we'd have to come up with another $1 million potentially.
Actually, when we bid it last year is when we felt like the numbers were being increased at the time for a lot of the projects. Reality was our 12 to 13 million for this project when we bid it last year. So now it's back to realistically what we thought it would cost.
Right.
That's why it didn't get awarded. It was
Right,
too
it was
high
too high.
above the engineer estimate that it was kind of out of line. So.
Right. Which tells me that we will expect engineering changes that will bring it more in line with
And if
what
there's
they really
anything that
wanted to
we
have in
can
the
do
first
to help
place.
save costs, we will. We have our Fullerton Pike pre-construction meeting. The contractor for this that was awarded is Force Construction. We have, is that? No, I'm sorry, it's Fullerton Pike is tomorrow. We will schedule this in March for the pre-construction meeting.
All right. All right, no, we're moving on. We'll just keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, it's an expensive way to get across the,
It is an expensive
Well,
way
it
to
did.
get across.
But there's
If
no
Coles
cheap
wouldn't,
way.
if Coles wouldn't have been built,
right.
it wouldn't have been an issue.
Yeah.
That's right, and I complained. I'll
And
tell
we
you,
even brought those old documents out and brought them out that showed that the court had signed that we had an at-grade crossing, and we could get that to go nowhere.
I know.
So.
I remember that, I was a county commissioner, we were dealing with it
By
at
the
the time.
Coles building.
The other thing that's interesting,
I think that would have been a little bit more than our 10 million.
Probably.
Oh, yeah, because that was built. So,
I asked the same, I thought the same thing, Richard.
okay, moving
Yeah,
on.
no,
Yeah.
water over the,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
water over
Water
the
over
bridge.
the, water under the
Bridge.
railroad.
Water under the bridge.
right?
Actually,
Okay.
ask the manager of Coles. And he looked at me, he says, do you have any idea what it costs to relocate a store?
Oh, I couldn't
It's like,
imagine.
never mind.
No. All right, so we have that taken care of now. We are on to claims. We have claims amounting to 8 claims, 4 of which are associated with our bond payments. One is a semi-annual payment on the Richland Bean Blossom Community School Corporation project for the STEM efforts that they're putting forward. And then we have a couple of small ones that deal with issues related to the, I think this is the Vernal Pipe Connector project, for a total of $260,686.51. Does anybody have any questions about any of these? Or any comments?
Just quick question in regards to as we go down these bonds. Wait, the 2015 bond issue at 61,000, which particular project is that?
The 2015 is the one that we use for Hart Street Road.
Okay, thank you. And then, of course, we got profile on the Cook bond, and then the 2020, is that our,
That is the Profile
2020 is
Parkway.
Profile Parkway.
okay, thank you.
Okay. We have a motion?
Move that we approve the claims for whatever today is for, in the amount of $260,686.51.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve claims of $2,201.71 for American Structure Point, $1,181.04 for American Structure Point, $112.50 for Yasmin Stump Law Group, $105,699.76 for Richland Bean Blossom Community School Corporation, $61,111.25 for our 2015 RDC bond, $30,874 for our 2018 Cook bond, and $58,506.25 for our 2020 RDC bond, and $1,000 for our Old National Wealth Management annual fee, totaling $260,686.51. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Cassidy,
Yes.
Commissioner Kiesling,
Yes.
Commissioner McCarty? Yes. Motion is approved, 4-0.
Do a signing copy. Okay. Next, is there any public comment? No public comment. Staff comment. Lisa, anything new?
Okay, so if you want me to finish the form that I got you a little bit. So Fullerton Pike Phase 3 also was awarded $18,809,968.30. It was a little bit under the engineer estimate. Hardly any federal funds to this one, only about 20%. I did reach out and ask. They have no funding available. So our cost, local cost, I will say there's no more money for construction. However, they went ahead and are going to fund 80% of the construction inspection cost. So I had to go to the commissioners today to split out the two DES numbers in the contract for the consultant so that NDOT can allocate 80% to the one DES number road and 80% to the bridge. So they will be covering $1,183,760 towards construction inspection now. And that was just as of last week. So our cost in the end will be $15,297,443.30. Of course, subject to change orders, possibly over or under. Of course, we do have the major bridge to fund this. We have the major bridge bond. So far, I've only been billed the about $3.8 million for the first. We have to pay our construction up front, our portion. And so I'm waiting for the other check on that. The next project is, do you have any questions on that project? The contractor is Milestone.
Yeah. What's our timeline on actually getting all the funds available to get this finished up?
So construction, once I get the second bill, which should be approximately $11 million, I will pay that within 30 days. So we have the funds sitting there. I go to the council next Tuesday to appropriate the funds back into the major bridge. And then we have the major bridge bond. We've only spent the 3.7 out of that. So then we should be able to pay that invoice. After that, it'll just be paying the construction inspection invoices as we go. Again, that'll be over a 2-year period. We'll pay 100% through the grant fund, and then 80% of that will go back into the grant fund. And again, this is at least an 18 to 24 month project.
Now, the only other project on the major bridge is the one up
It's
north?
Mount Tabor, and that has no timeline. That is a local project. My commitment is this project at this point.
Okay.
So if we get to the design aspect of that and it's complete, which I believe I have a meeting on that next week, we can just kind of halt it right there until we start spending. I just want to get this project pretty well done before we spend any more contracts on that project.
Right. This one we've only been working on, as far as I know, for a little over 50 years.
Correct, if you think about the overall being in the thoroughfare plan. The DES number for this phase 3 was in 2017, so that's kind of when actually NDOT recognizes the project. But yes, you are correct. The original DES number for phase 1 was 2008.
Okay.
So the next project I have on here is the Karst Trail Extension. The reason why I have that on here for the RDC board is we've had, I'm going to say, we had phase 2A, 2B, phase 1, phase 3 of the Karst Trail when it was originally built. And at that time, before me in this position, TIF funds were used to help create and build that trail. And since then, we have used funds. We have a trail line in the budget. It's been in existence for many years. The commissioners had funded this project in the beginning with their GEO bond. They paid for design, they paid for right-of-way, And then they had 430,000 allocated because originally the project was around 1.5 million. And then it got to 2.3 million with our estimate. And of course it came in bid-wise at 2.9 million. So I used a portion out of our trail, 164,000, and the 430 out of the GEO bond to pay our construction for this project, which I believe was $594,000. The project was awarded, so we're committed to the project. So the only outstanding thing for this project is the $247,000 construction inspection contract. It is not reimbursable, so it would be paid out of our grant, our TIF budget, out of our trail expansion line that we have in existence. So I wanted to make you aware of that expense so that we could finish that last piece of the Karst Trail. And that is also what they call the Liberty Drive extension. It goes down Liberty Drive to Constitution. It'll include a traffic signal at Constitution over to Curry Pike. It'll include a traffic signal there, and then it'll go west and connect to the Karst Trail there at the Gifford Road curve. And this project started out with $155,000 in federal funding. So they brought it up. Their federal funds to this project now are $2.37 million. So I made that deal with NDOT. Sometimes I don't have a lot of time to say yes or no, but that was basically a phone call of, I'll fund this, you know, at 80% for your construction if you take this bridge project for me. So I did that knowing that we did have the GEO bond money for construction, and then we did have the trail expansion line in our west side TIF. So that is why that project is thrown in there, to show that expense and get the board's support for finishing that last piece of trail.
That'll complete the Karst Farm Trail up
to yes, that will give you the connection from where the B line, I guess, or I'm not familiar with all the city trail names, to where the state crossed over I-69. They stopped at Liberty Drive. This will make that continuation all the way to the Karst Trail that goes all the way to Ellettsville or to the Karst Park. So anybody from downtown can follow that and have that connection. So
Yeah, this would allow workers to get to the West Side TIF employment centers from the residential centers in the city limits. And so that's why we think this serves the TIF district.
Correct.
So we want to make sure you're comfortable with that.
Been there and done that before.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a lot of numbers to throw out, but it's been a busy 60 days. So that's, you know, Monroe County is going to have $31 million worth of projects being built this year over the next 2 years. So in 3 projects. So.
I saw Kelly yesterday and she was talking about it.
Who?
Kelly from Parks and Rec.
Oh, yeah.
County
yeah,
Parks
yeah,
and Rec.
Whitmer. So yeah, it'll be busy, but it'll be nice to get these done. And that's really the only update I have.
I got a couple of items. One is not directly in one of the TIF districts, but I did receive a tax abatement application for the Baxter property that's just south of 48. The abatement expects a investment of 80 million in real property and 145 million in personal property onto that site. And I think that's directly related to the things that are going on in the West Side TIF district. So just kind of wanted to make you guys aware of that.
Terms the abatement are?
Well, the request is kind of our standard 10-year abatement where it decreases.
So it's a 10-year decreasing?
Yes. Yes. So.
Okay.
So that, and again, it's not, the property that they are doing this is just south of our TIF district, so it wouldn't affect our revenues at all.
Actually, south of the TIF district?
Yes.
Okay.
48 north is the TIF district, 48 south is outside of the TIF district. So this is
Yes,
the,
it would be out. That's
so this
true.
is south, but I think it still affects
It would, yeah.
that area.
Oh, absolutely.
The other is I know I've prepared a letter of support for the county commissioners for a request in our Curry Profile TIF district for maybe getting some federal dollars into that area for an expanded use of that building. And so I kind of wanted to let you guys know that. In that, I referenced a couple of things you guys had done. One is the creation of that Curry Profile TIF district and the fact that those funds have to be used for either physically in or physically connected to or helping those two parcels. And the other is I reference what we're doing with our RBB, with the STEAM program and how we're trying to develop those kind of things. So I thought you guys would want to be aware of that.
So we don't have to do anything in regards to this at RDC. This will just move forward through the county.
I think that we're considering it a county support letter, so we're going to let the commissioners see that. But I wanted to make you aware that those kind of things are things that the company and the people who are looking to get these kind of things wanted in their letter. So
Yeah, I mean, if we can support, I think it's the right thing to do because you're looking at real property increase and personal and also jobs.
Yeah. That's the big
Adds
one.
to our local option income taxes and helps raise the tide on everybody in the community.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do we have any feedback from the Plan Commission on the request they made for us about the U-Haul site? Did they?
I don't know if we have any feedback other than I know it went through the commissioners meeting and was approved. So that's the.
Yes, I did get it, your email regarding contact with the Plan Commission on our request that they not downzone a couple of parcels, and I will go ahead and attend that meeting. I wanted to know, do all of you remember what was going on there? The parcels up on north of Vernal Pike across from Print Pack. Is it
Okay.
Print Pack? There are two large open fields there
Right.
that are in the TIF that are designated now as employment, that they wanted to move down zone into a residential component. And we had sent them a letter asking them to maintain the employment designation there because they were in the TIF. And then there was the area north of Arlington Road, where there was a large parcel that we were originally thinking about as perhaps something we could incorporate into a TIF district, which again, they were taking from a residential zone and making it a less dense residential zone. And we pointed out that there was a higher density residential to the north. There was some interest from a property owner to the west. And that we thought it would be best if we just maintained the zoning at that current level, since that seemed to be what's happening in the area. And that's essentially the story I will take to them. Recall talking about that, we sent them a letter and did a map and identified the parcels. There are, the one north of Arlington, there are some parcels along what is it, Stouts Creek in there? Stouts Creek. And then there's a large parcel to the west of Stouts Creek. And then the other one are those two parcels up in the northwest part of the TIF district. So I will be going to that meeting and letting them know.
I'll call you back.
Okay?
I'll call you back.
All right. You said you had two things to bring up? Did I touch on them? Did you touch on them?
You did say I have two.
Well, I had two things, and I said two things. I said the tax abatement, and then I said the request for
Their request.
for the
Yes, okay.
support letter.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's two things.
That's two.
Yeah, let's do.
Kind of merged them together and it wasn't. No, okay. All right. We are then down to commissioners' comments. Iris, do you have any comments you wanted to make?
I don't have anything right now, except for the letter that you sent to the commissioners about those issues. Would you kind of copy us on those things and maps so that we know what you said and make sure that we stay in?
No, I'm sure you had it when we did it.
Yeah, it was part of one of the packets, and I can,
Okay,
go back and
I don't
look.
remember seeing it, but I had so much stuff coming in that I may have missed it.
and it was a while ago. I think it was,
A year ago at
yeah,
least.
probably this time last year.
Okay, why don't you
Yeah.
send it
I-
on so
I
I can
will-
look at it again?
Yeah, why don't you send that out so that if anybody has any more comments, they can get in touch with me. I think it's March 5th?
That's a coming meeting, it's the
That
March
they wanted
5th,
me
yeah.
to, wanted us to come and comment, so I will plan on doing that.
That's the one that you and I were talking about,
Next one.
that other meeting, that other petition that we were talking,
The other
concerned
issue
about.
you brought up earlier as you came in the door was the petition to the Plan Commission for the area south of 46. South of 46, where the quarry used to be, that is now going to be another kind of project, which includes a great deal of fill.
It's an area of veterans petition, isn't it? Oh,
No,
this is another
That's a
one?
different one. The VA petition that was
I
put
didn't
forth.
get to that one.
It's in North Park, up near Ernest Health.
You came,
Yeah.
you watched it longer than I did.
The property we're talking about is at the intersection, the southernmost area coming off of 69 to 46. It
Oh,
would
I know
be-
what you mean.
Yeah, it would be the old quarry area.
Yes.
That, those
I
of
think I know
us
which-
would be the L hole. and-
Right.
That at one time, a consultant that we had doing planning said that would make a great venue for an outdoor theater.
Right.
But that's not going to happen, it doesn't look like. But that's an issue which is going to be occurring within the TIF district, so. And I think was designated as an employment area in the PUD. But that's something we may want to do. Alan, anything?
Nothing tonight, no?
Randy?
No, I just want to thank our staff for everything, putting it together, because it
Yeah,
seems
thank you,
like
both of you.
the last 3 to 5 years worth of work is all accumulated here in the last month. And now we have the things of, everything we've looked for.
How much I've
Promise-
aged.
I know,
Really coming from here, right?
Yeah.
but you've done a great job in bringing these things to fruition, and now we're at that point, like, we have to build it.
Thank you.
And we've been fortunate to have the financial wherewithal to move this forward, thanks to our council and our elected officials. Appreciate it.
Wouldn't get it done without the support of the Commissioners Council, this board for allocating the funds to it and having, to believe that it'll get done. And the reason NDOT does help Monroe County is because we do finish projects. They don't
Finish
like you-
project, and we have a
They
good
don't
lead.
like
that
you to not finish a project.
Well, but you also make a good example of what needs to do.
I
and
beg.
And you do all the mechanics of what has to happen, and I
I
think
cry,
NDOT
I
likes
beg.
you. Good.
No, they do tell me no. They just told me no on Fullerton. I was like, can I have some more money? And they're like, nope, don't have any, but,
Greatly
Right.
appreciate it.
Only other comment I had, I keep watching McAllister make progress on Profile Parkway, so
I haven't been by
there will
there
be
yet.
TIF
so-
revenue coming in from there in the not too distant future, only a couple of years from now, which is short on our time scale. And I haven't heard anything more about the Cook event property leasing to the electronics firm.
That
I'm assuming it's moving along.
The abatement was granted. That is actually what they're trying to get quite a bit of federal money to help support bringing in additional similar type.
Right. See you. Thank you.
my car's going to expire.
Right, so is mine.
Well, I think we're about expired too.
Yeah.
Anything else? If not, I call this meeting completed. Thank you all for
Okay.
attending.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Appreciate it.
I'll see if I make it.
Stop by the office